Hello everyone, I'm Matt Mitrovich, the alternate historian. We all love redrawing the map when we create alternate histories, but what happens when someone wants to change the map for real? This is the Sharro Plan, also known as a new, peaceful Western Europe that was created by the fictitious Middle Eastern think tank, the Institute of Internet Diagrams. It is a satirical proposal to redraw the map of Western Europe that was created by Carl Sharro. Carl is a Lebanese-Iraqi architect and writer based in London. He's also the director at PLP Architecture in London and co-author of Manifesto toward a New Humanism in Architecture. More importantly, he's a satirical commenter on Middle Eastern politics, and if you haven't already, go follow him on Twitter. He's hilarious. Anywho, the Sharro Plan was posted on Carl's Twitter account on April 28, 2017. Per a YouTube video he posted to explain it, the Sharro Plan proposes changing Western Europe's borders to help bring peace to a divided continent before extremists bring their conflict to the rest of the globe. Carl justifies this by saying the current borders of Europe were created by leaders who lusted for power, and they only exacerbate Europe's ancient hatreds. Instead, the Sharro Plan fixes this by changing the borders to take regional differences into account. For example, the differences between northern and southern Italy, the active independence movements in Spain, and, let's face it, the hatred between the Brits and the Scots. Sound familiar to you, viewer? If not, don't worry, all will be explained in the map analysis. First, let's talk about the quality of the Sharro Plan. This map is not very good. The borders are improbably straight and completely ignore geography and cultures. Even the names are nonsensical. I mean, Wingland? Seriously? And why the hell does it make sense for Lebanon to control Sicily? Honestly, it looks like the map took 15 minutes to make in Microsoft Paint. To be fair to Carl, it actually did take him that long to make, because this map is not supposed to be plausible. The Sharro Plan's primary purpose is to criticize European imperialism and its tendency to leave nations with arbitrary lines that divide people groups. You pretty much see this with modern borders across the world. Now, maps correcting this aren't exactly rare, but they serve an important purpose. For example, see the previous analysis I did on the political map of Africa without European colonization. According to Frank Jacobs of Big Think, maps like this and the Sharro Plan show the indignity of colonization and the ignorance of the colonizer. In the case of the Sharro Plan, Carl was calling out the Sykes-Picot Agreement, which in our timeline is the name of the secret 1916 agreement between Britain and France to divide the Middle East between themselves once the Ottoman Empire was defeated in World War I. It also negated Britain's promise to Arab rebels to help create their own state once the Ottomans were driven out of Arab lands. The Sykes-Picot Agreement is often blamed by historians for creating the artificial borders of the Middle East, without regard to the ethnic and religious differences between the people they were grouping together, causing many of the issues going on there today. Some would argue that if we just redraw the borders of the Middle East, we would have peace, like Ralph Peters did in his Blood Borders map. In this map, Peter suggests that by simply redrawing the map of the Middle East, the region would become a better place. Except not everyone is sold on the artificial border theory and will argue that Sykes-Picot Agreement did not have that big of an impact on the region. They point out the fact that the Sykes-Picot borders don't match the modern Middle East borders and that artificial border theorists ignore the Ottoman Empire's impact in governing the area and how that shaped the borders of the future states. In reality, the Middle East came along like any other country, or, as Joel Wing in Real Clear Defense put it, a drawn-out process of resolving competing claims to territory through war, diplomacy, and other uses of power. Redrawing the map of the Middle East also stinks of the simple solution trap, or to put it another way, if we just do this one thing, all of our problems will magically disappear, and we all know how likely that is in geopolitics. Worse, those who suggest we can change the borders are usually Westerners who want to impose the changes from on high with little input from the people who actually live there. For better or worse, generations of people call themselves Syrians, Lebanese, Iraqis, Jordanians, etc., and probably wouldn't be happy to have more Americans or Europeans, regardless of their good intentions, show up to screw with their borders after fighting to preserve them against foes like the so-called Islamic State. Thus, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sharro Plan is meant more to make fun of maps like Ralph Peters' Blood Borders. I know Sharro said on Twitter that his map was a critique of the Sykes-Picot Agreement, but just makes a lot more sense in my humble opinion to look at the Sharro Plan as a smackdown on those amateurs who like to draw lines on the map. That all said, it doesn't mean more effort couldn't have gone into the Sharro Plan. While I appreciate the message Carl was trying to get across, low effort maps, even when done as a joke, are just lazy and not as funny as some would think. Just take a look at this map by Rebecca Sterling, aka Upvote Anthology, called Long States of America. It's a satirical redrawing of America where all the states have long borders. It's incredibly silly, yet you can tell by looking at it that Rebecca put some serious effort into drawing it. Carl could have done the same, but he didn't. And I know people would look at my amateurish setup and say I shouldn't talk, and yes, they have a point, but my biggest issue with lazy map making is that there are so many alternate cartographers out there that could have done a better job for affordable prices. I believe they don't get enough recognition for what they usually do for free out of love of alternate history. It's because of those artists out there who work out of the gaze of the mainstream that I will always criticize laziness like the Sharro Plan. Does that mean the Sharro Plan isn't a good map? No, but it could have had a more powerful impact if a real alternate cartographer had helped create it. Well, that is what to say in this subject. If you like what I do, please comment, subscribe, share this video, support me on Patreon. I'm Matt Mitrich, the Alternate Historian. Bye.